Welcome, my friends, earthlings, others, whoever might have showed up. You know who you are. So I'm not going to tell stories, but we know. Okay? The mystery, the magic of the star tetrahedron, which is a vehicle of consciousness and light. Rather slow turning today, but that's okay. Upper triangulation, divine power, which is vibration, mass, and action. It is then mirrored to create the divine feminine, which is love, wisdom, power. And as the two then are united, the upper triangulation is turning left to right clockwise, the first emanation from source clockwise. But then just like when you look in a mirror, there is the opposite. And so the lower triangulation is then moving right to left counterclockwise. As these two opposite forces are then rotating against each other, in the very middle of it, of course, it then creates a doorway, a vortex. And that vortex is then back into the void. And so not only did the void create the star tetrahedron by emanating out the vibration that then created the mass, the energy, the love, the wisdom, but now there is an instrument that the void source can use in order to manifest itself, to see itself. And that is the star tetrahedron. We call it, of course, the Christ prism. And it is, again, not a person, but a crystallization of consciousness and light. And because the doorway in the middle is now open, source can literally emanate through and out through the star tetrahedron, touching the facets of this rapidly spinning vehicle of consciousness and light, power, wisdom, and love. And whatever is then the essence emanating from void, it touches the facets of this rapidly spinning star, and then power and love become unified literally into manifestation. And so all manifestation within the cosmos originated from and is composed of the star tetrahedron, the Christ frequency. So every atom and every particle of creation, of course, already is from that emanation, perfection. With free will, we have the right then to impose upon it our limited thoughts, feelings, and then ideas, which then shrouds or covers over this magic of the star. And then emanating through it, here is the purity of light emanating, but now it's coming through maybe worry or maybe fear or unhappiness, whatever emotion we might be carrying within our field. The divine light is then shining through that, which is really the gift, because as it goes out into the world and then demonstrates ignorance for us, we can then observe, what is it that I am seeing that is really an emanation from myself? Now, most people upon the planet, they believe that they are victims, that things are happening to them. They don't quite understand yet that it's the emanation of the Christ frequency within, perfection, through the limited thoughts, feelings, and ideas that they're holding, that are creating the reality, that is the gift, that as they observe it, and then they feel the pain, the suffering, the travail, the dislike, and then come back literally with that wave vibration within and feel it here. It gives you then knowledge of what within me is still out of balance. And there's no sin or no error in any of that. It is simply free will, which was the gift that was really given to humanity in the time of the endemic period. So within Eden, all of humanity, both male, female, lived within harmony within what we call the Christ field. but everything was simply then following the, if you want to call it, the dictates, the pathway of what Source had outlined from the emanation from inside out. And so the purity of the aura was then creating purity of this great Eden-like experience where there was beauty and grace and harmony and peace and love and joy, but no free will. Everyone and everything was simply following the dictates, very lovingly, of course, from that which is Source, the creator beings that created Eden, humanity. But then it was time for humanity to evolve because Source was looking not for followers to simply be, if you will, like children following along on the path, what the Father was always wanting them to do. Source wanted co-creators, individuals who could then, with their creative abilities, begin to even expand the possibilities of the universe through their own knowledge and wisdom. And so this was symbolic of Eve eating the apple, but it was the apple of knowledge. And when man, womankind then had knowledge, they then had free will to make choices. And in those choices, that's when we began to cover ourselves. And that's why it says in Eden, there was this kind of like you might call it no covering, people running around in fig leaves. Well, it really wasn't fig leaves. It's just they had no covering in the sense of the aura was pure, glistening, and radiant. But now they had to put on coverings to hide themselves, again, which is free will. And so that hiding is then the veils that we then begin to weave in and through around our aura that veiled us from Source so that we would now have to find Source. And in the beginning, of course, for eons and eons of time, because we were so veiled in ignorance, we kept looking outside of ourselves. It must be over here. It must be over there. Maybe it's power. Maybe it's recognition. Maybe relationships. Um, maybe political. Maybe scheming. Maybe land. Maybe jewels and money. But in all that looking, there was never satisfaction and peace because we were creating those things through the veils of our separation, believing that if I have money and power and glamour, I'll be fine. But because we were still emanating fear out that I'm fearful that I won't be good enough unless I have money or power, the fear emanates out and it quietly eats at and destroys that which we have created, the false creation. Not in error, mind you, but simply in formation. Observing what have I created that has not yet brought me satisfaction. And after eons of humanity looking and wanting and needing, there began to be the arising forth of individuals who began to seek within. And of course, the Master Jesus, who mastered the Christ frequency, as well as Buddha, as well as Krishna, as well as many other ascended masters, they all said the kingdom's within. And so learning to go inside and begin to know that the truth is already within. The divine and sacred already exists within me. I'm looking simply through veils of ignorance that have been created, and I keep creating things that are out of balance and suffering. And as we now are fortunate enough to realize that when I'm seeing something that bothers me, or I dislike it, or judge it, or criticize it, it's simply information for how am I really doing about loving myself, about finding the magic within, and so loving and adoring oneself from inside out, not in ego, but from the humble knowing that I now breathe with Source. I can feel the breath of creation, the force, if you will, simply emanating and moving through tree and rock and stone and human and bird and all creation. And so then one has become free, and through free will has gained the knowledge that I too am at one with Source God. And as Jesus said, God I am. Not the only I am. You are an I am. I am an I am. There is only multitudes of I ams. Simply emanation as facets from a tremendous jewel of living light, which is Source, scattered throughout the cosmos, reawakening to the jewel-like qualities that they already are. But as we then awaken, we then expand the possibilities. We then begin to realize through with my power, which is no longer wanting or needing or manipulating, but holding the mind steady and silent and focused, which is true power. I can focus all of my attention and all of my light upon my imagination, my love. And as I bring forth the imagination and I love it and focus light upon it, it literally emanates out from me and begins to attract back to me joy and peace and happiness, all good God things, as simply a reflection of how you feel about yourself. And so we are at a time, 2025, when we are fortunate, you and I, and so many of us, we know this. We're beginning to truly feel it and realize it, live it and own it. But for the most of humanity, probably 90% yet, they're still shrouded in their veils of ignorance. They're simply learning that through creating ignorance and suffering, it gives them the opportunity to hopefully turn back within and begin to realize Source is within. I too can walk the path of the internal light, rather looking for light outwardly. And so we see, because we're coming through this great time of transition on the planet, moving from out of Pisces, which we truly did on December 21st of 2023, over 2 years ago. And now we're in Aquarius, the dawn of the divine feminine, pouring out the living waters of truth and feeling upon the planet. But as those cleansing waters flow from on high, whatever does not vibrate to that frequency, peace, love, joy, sharing, knowing that everything in creation is but an outpicturing of the self with another form, but the ultimate vibration within is simply light. It's God, it's Source. But because we are now at the apex of beginning to truly realize that, as this living light begins to pour out upon the planet, it stirs up tremendous amount of chaos. And now we see that Mother Nature is a reflection of that chaos. And so there's snow down in Florida, 10 inches of snow probably in New Orleans, unheard of before. Of course, we know about the fires. Fire, the energy of transformation. Tragic, yes. Disrupting people's lives, yes. When you get a cold or you have a flu, it's fire. You get a fever. And the fever, the fire, is burning up the old cellular crystallizations so that you can begin again. All of life transforms through fire. Fire burns up a tree, and it becomes heat for your home. Fire burns up all creation and simply transforms it into something else. Nothing ever dies. Nothing ever really is lost. It's simply energy transforming. And that's the beauty of our work. We realize that we can begin to focus the fire of light, attention, upon the imagination, the love, the feeling, the creative joy. And as the light of our fire and passion shines upon our love and joy, we then begin to emanate sunlight. And sunlight then flows so beautifully from us. And it's the fire of creation now, no longer a fire that burns up and destroys. It's like the sun. The sun is a fire, but it's a fire of the Christ fire, the building fire, the giving fire. As it goes into a plant, it becomes then the sugars, the nutrients that feed all of life. Everything on the planet that lives is from chlorophyll, from the sun. And then cows and animals, they eat the grass. There's insects, and then finally becomes food. And it becomes the fruits, and it becomes the salads, and it becomes all of the marvelous things that we consume. It's sunlight. And when we take that sunlight into our body, the fire of our digestion, the fire of our energy, burns up the cellular energy, turns it into fuel, and we now use the fuel to live our lives. And so everything is simply transforming. If we're locked into believing, I have to have this to have peace, or I need this to feel good enough, we are locked into a fear and a worry that I'm not going to have enough. I'm not going to be supported. And that worry and that fear is a vibration. It then vibrates out from you and attracts things back that you're going to worry about, you're going to have fear over. I was talking to one of my students today, and they're talking about how they are so fearful because there's a lack of rain down in the Southwest. So this worry, this fear is beginning to come up. And I said, I have no fear or no worry. I'm always prepared, mind you, but it's not from fear, it's not from worry, it's just being smart and being prepared. But in that preparation, I always know that whatever's going to be coming to me is going to be perfect. My soul will give me the knowledge and the wisdom to dance with it. Because if I'm emanating out some fear or some worry from me, you can be well assured it's going to be attracting back something that will manifest as fear or worry. And you will say, look, woe is me. Look what's happening to my life, to my things, to my people I love. What's happening? It's all vibration. And just like the gentleman, which is a wonderful term, Jesus was able to literally change the reality of something that looked so solid into something that was simply transformed into something else. A loaf and a fish, water into wine. And it wasn't by demanding that whatever he was focused upon change. It was simply emanating another vibration, another frequency. Frequency is the underlying cause of all manifestation. And if your frequency is fear or worry at some level, it's a vibration that is moving out from you. If your frequency is love and adoration and cherishing all of life, you can be well assured that life is going to cherish you back. You have literally allowed yourself to slip into the ocean of oneness that is breathing through you 24/7. You can't get out of the ocean of oneness. I was with another client the other day, and such travail, feeling that the emotions of what's going on down south in LA in that area, so much suffering she was going through, so much emotion. And I said, imagine a fish that has somehow worked its way out of the ocean onto the sand. And it's flopping around, and it's flopping here, and it's flopping there. It's even starting to bruise itself from all of its flopping. You're like a fish that's come out of the ocean. Simply turn around, swim back into the ocean, and allow the peace to simply embrace you. It's really that simple. But it's the mind that keeps us thinking, well, something I've got to change, something I've got to make different, something needs to be out there that's so separate from me, I've got to do something about it. Illusions, simply all illusions. all manifestations from the star tetrahedron that is the purity of source, only creating things that are a gift for you. Even when it looks dark and difficult and challenging, if you're able to feel what is the emotion within that moment, within that thing you're experiencing, and get quiet and come back to your breath. And now the mind is silent and you're feeling nature. You can begin to feel, well, what's the feeling I'm picking up here? Is it frustration? Is it anger? Is it maybe hatred or dislike? And then stay with that emotion. Don't judge it. Don't criticize it. But gently stay with it from a more divine place within you. And as you draw it back to you, you ask yourself, where does that emotion live within me? Because it has to live somewhere within the body and within the cellular structure of your physical form. If it's in the first chakra at the base of the spine, then there's usually trouble within the hips and the legs. If it's within the second chakra of emotions, then digestion, assimilation, lower back pains. If it's in the third chakra, the navel, then we have liver or kidney problems. We're pissed off, or we're angry, or we feel powerless. All illusions and separations from that which is the divine within. And once again, we try and fulfill those separations by being addicted to something out there. Money is no less an addiction than alcohol or drugs. Sexuality, political savvy, all of it is just addictions, wanting, needing something. I realized many, many years ago that I had to find an addiction that would be good for me. And it was meditation. So I started meditating twice a day because I began to feel within that there were great changes taking place. No longer being addicted to something that I was trying to consume there, I began to consume it within. And then quieting the mind and finding peace. And then finding the emotions within me, the fear, the loneliness, the worthlessness, the anger, the hatred that was much of my childhood. But then I realized that's the gift. I, the soul, chose that childhood with all of those things that were happening to me to learn how to master the darkness. By no longer disliking it or judging it, but by quiet mind and meditation, able to slip into the emotion and feel it from the divine I am, that I now realize had even created those moments to give me information today by the suffering I was still feeling out there about who I really was inside. I wasn't loving myself. I wasn't honoring myself. I was critical and judgmental and even disliked myself. But once again, that was the gift. Rather than fighting against it or disliking it, I began to meditate and found through the love and the peace, I could simply drop into the emotion within me. And I could feel myself rippling back through time, space, and I could find that little boy who was born perfect, just like you were born perfect. Your soul takes a facet of the marvelous, pure jewel it is, drops it down into time, space, purity is born. And of course, mother and father are covered over with veils. But again, that's your gift. That's what you chose. So that by working through those emotions, you could then, through free will, master fear and loneliness and hatred and anger and unworthiness, and stand clear in the world and become the sunlight that shines peace on everything and everyone, no matter what they look like, no matter what they're doing, no matter their political stance or what's going on in their homes or their houses. No judgment, no criticism, simply compassion. And so that was the gift that I was giving by my childhood, by able to work through those emotions by simply loving myself. But it wasn't Gary the man that was loving myself. Through my meditation and through finding silence within, I began to literally interface to this great golden being of light I am, that you are, that all creation is. As I began to see and feel and experience the joy and the beauty of that marvelous golden light, it became the avenue of peace, the avenue of going into the emotion without judgment, of flowing upon that golden way back through time, space, and finding that little boy and literally reparenting him, showing that I was going to stand beside him as the divine soul I am, father, mother, sacredness that was going to hold him and so love him. The veils of separation, the veils of loneliness, of fear and worry simply melted away. Not trying to change them, not trying to get rid of them, but so powerfully bringing love and holding them in that space of love. He realized that he was born from a golden being of light, and then began to awaken within and through me, and begin to unite with the man, and begin to unite with the soul. And then one begins to understand that the next level is then the star tetrahedron. Beginning to master the Christ frequency, to become a creator being, to learn that one can hold the mind totally silent and focused, and bring forth great love and imagination. And then from inside out, source is then emanating out. It's the breath of life. Source is the breath. And as source emanates from inside out, touching the facets of this great and magnificent Christ frequency, it literally manifests creation before you. Jesus showed us that loaf and fish, waters into wine, healing, all part of simply emanating a frequency of the divine through source I am, through the magic of the Christ crystalline structure. And immediately manifestation in this physical world changed, because the frequency was now there. It was love, and it was peace, and it was joy. And that's where we are destined to be living. And so 2025 is a time of great transition, where the great waters of truth and light are pouring upon the planet, but it stirs up the dust, it stirs up the mud, it stirs up the chaos. And that's the gift for every human being. And if we're fortunate enough to know the truth, we can realize that when we feel something that bothers us, or we dislike, we know, aha, information. I'm helping me understand how I can love myself more and be free to simply be the sunlight of love. So one of the things that helps us tremendously in this feeling of emanation from source inside out is our breath work. The reason being is when we hold our attention at the star tetrahedron and feel at the heart chakra, we can literally feel ourselves, breath is now breathing in source light. Yes, we're breathing in oxygen that feeds and nourishes the body, but now our consciousness is expanding. We're knowing there's a doorway within, and that doorway back into the void is where source, literally through all creation, emanates from inside out. We're no longer looking for God. We're no longer looking for truth. It's already within. We're breathing it into this dimension. And so as we do our deep belly breathing, we're breathing deeply down into the body, but our in-breath is really from inside out, source. And as we quietly exhale, we imagine and feel sparkling, effervescent sunlight and peace emanating. It moves through all cells and tissues of the body, flows out into the world, and I am the light. So let's sit quietly for about 5 minutes, and I'll take you through the whole sequence. Sitting comfortably, we just gently close the eyes. And we feel the body relaxing. We bring our attention to the breath and know within the area of the heart chakra there is an open doorway into Source, God I Am. And with in-breath, we are summoning from the open doorway the purity of spirit, Source. And with gentle exhale, we envision and see sparkling, effervescent golden light within and all around. What I focus the mind upon becomes real. From the open doorway within the heart, I breathe in Source, the purity of spirit, and with gentle attention and intention, it becomes sparkling. Sunlight and peace. I am the light. Summoning Source through the breath. Breath is life. Breath is spirit. And with each deep inhalation, I feel it from the open doorway, this magic of Source arising. I am the light. And the light I emanate draws to me peace and joy. I create my reality. And the simplicity of my deep breath, summoning Source from the open doorway, becomes the emanation of living light. I am the sun. You might see yourself sitting at the open doorway within the heart. I am no longer the physical form. I am the breath of life, breathing that which I am into this dimension. I am both spirit and form, manifest and unmanifest. I am the breath of life. I am the manifestation of life. I sit at the open doorway of the I am. On one side, the void, the other side, manifestation. I see myself. When Source emanated from the void, it asked the question, what am I? I am both spirit and now I am form. And I sit at the open doorway breathing life. And then very easily now, still sitting at the open doorway, a place of peace and silence, as you allow yourself to slowly come back into the now, be the doorway, both spirit and matter. I am. Over the last several years, as I've been doing the star tetrahedron meditation, at first I was somewhat sitting outside of my form, my body, and I was watching it move, upper triangulation left to right, lower triangulation right to left. Then I began to realize, well, really I'm within it. I began to see and feel it then moving around me. And so here I was sitting within this marvelous form, star tetrahedron, flowing, moving around me, emanating light. But then I began to realize I am the open doorway. It is the doorway that manifests itself into creation. And so in my meditation, I sit at the doorway, the pure void, the silence, the dark and velvety nighttime. And as I rest there, I begin to see and feel all around me the movement of this great and magnificent star. And as I still sit at the doorway, I know and I feel whatever I breathe forth into creation will simply touch the facets of this spinning star, and creation will occur. So it's no longer a trying, and no longer trying to make it. That was part of it in the beginning. It's more sitting in the silence now, observing the movement of this magnificent form and breath arising forth, spirit coming into this dimension to be living light. So that's the evolution of my meditation. So I'd like to take you through the formulation, and I encourage you to, again, as best you can, begin to see yourself sitting more and more at the open doorway. Just like a coin, on one side is source, on this side, the dimensions of creation. And you are both manifest and unmanifest. So let's sit quietly once again and feel the body relaxing. Our breath work has prepared us, prepared the body in the silence. So we simply focus attention within the area between the eyebrows, the seat of the soul, divine light. I am the light. The light is consciousness. I allow my consciousness to settle into the area of the heart chakra. And there, the great open doorway into the void. And up above me, the star tetrahedron turning left to right. beneath and down into earth, lower triangulation, right to left. And as the star tetrahedron turns, and I sit at the doorway of the I Am, I breathe spirit into this dimension to become the manifestation of sunlight and peace. In front and back, above and all around, I emanate the light. I am both spirit and form. I will join with you and we will create magnificent light. And very easily, slowly coming back into the now. So if things do get a little chaotic in your life, or things feel a little bit out of balance, if you can just take a few moments and do some breath and allow yourself to sit at this very silent and peaceful place, you'll probably watch as things diffuse. You're no longer a fish flopping on the sand. You're back in the ocean of source oneness. And there's no sharks in our ocean. All right, my dear friend, thank you very much for coming and participating. Enjoy your very good selves. Namaste.